Hello and welcome to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I am Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Before we dive into who our guest is that's in studio, Joe is going to remind us of our show's vision and purpose.
Well, welcome everybody to Searching for Service, as Kelly eloquently put. The podcast is all about delving into the transformative world of community service and connection. And then in this space, we respond to the shifts in how people serve and unite under a greater cause. Our focus is on the power of Rotary clubs as platforms for cause-driven fellowship, inviting both members and non-members to share in this quest. Through inspiring stories like we'll hear from Mary, we're really excited about that, and interviews, we aim to spark a movement of meaningful relationships and expanding horizons. So join us on this wonderful journey as we explore.
Beautiful job.
Yeah, right.
Beautiful. I love also if our listeners are truly doing a good job of listening, they get a little teaser on who our guest is.
Typically, yeah.
So thank you for tuning in to Searching for Service. We have a guest in studio today, and I'm super excited about it because it's one of my favorite people, absolute favorite people, and that is Mary Prindle. So Mary is a fellow Rotarian with our club, Edina Morningside. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. And I've had the pleasure of listening to several of the. I haven't listened to all of the podcasts, but several. And
it's like 50.
We won't fault you on it. It's okay.
You are so good. It's inspiring.
Thank you.
Shines a light on Rotary. And one thing that you have been talking about is the cause behind Rotary membership. And it's interesting because that has evolved a bit.
Yeah.
Because over the years, you have someone who comes into Rotary because they have a job, and part of their job is to be community engaged and go find that service club.
Yeah.
And that may still be happening, but to a greater degree, people are looking for that ability to be on the ground, boots on the ground, find something to do for themselves, maybe professionally.
Yeah.
But it really is, it feeds their soul.
Yeah.
And I think that makes us all stronger as clubs and Rotarians.
Wow, that could have been like our last little tidbit and it would have been an amazing way to end the show. However, we're starting off on that, and we're starting off on a great foot. So I love it.
True. I think at least for me, that was more what brought me in than
sure.
I'm not required to be in as a business owner, but it was more trying to find a place. Yes, I want to be around, in a network that helps that too, but it's a place that serves a mission and is not just, there for, I do like the camaraderie aspect, but it's the mission base that really attracted me to it. So you're right on how it's evolving.
Well, and really quick, it's even evolving further than that. And now technology is allowing us to connect globally with clubs, and it's changing the complete landscape. And for some of us, it's easier to take on. For some of us,
COVID, I think, pushed people to get, Zoom was
speaking of Zoom,
very, very limited of use.
I remember the first time visiting our Rotary Club and meeting Mary for the first time, and she was so wonderful. But Zoom was still incorporated into, and I think it still is, but just not so much in the capacity that it was back when we were kind of on the tail end of COVID. And Mary was trying her absolute best to keep her wits in order. I was like, why? She's doing a really good job, but I
got pretty testy.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot to manage.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Hurting the kittens.
But
enough about us. Let's talk about you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
How long have you been a Rotarian? Let's start there.
1995.
Wow.
So a friend.
God, you must have been 7.
Oh. And my hair wasn't this color. But no, a friend called, and I'm a gardener. And our president at the time, who's still a member of our club, Mark Moore, said, I want a Rotary commemorative garden in Edina. And so Ralph Campbell called and said, would you help us with this project? Sure. All right. So we met a couple of times and we were looking for a spot. And of course, Mark had the corner of Highway 100 and Perkins as his ideal spot for this garden.
Yeah.
So we went to the city and said, we're hatching an idea and can we put a garden there? And the city manager said, that'll never fly. MnDOT isn't going to do that. So that kind of got shelved, but I got my introduction to Rotary and to Edina Morningside Rotary and Tuesday mornings. And wow, Tuesday's the greatest day of the week. You know,
it is.
And, you know, the energy of our socializing before the meeting and then the meeting itself and what we do socially and you know, from a service perspective, Tuesday's the best day of the week.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a great way to start the day too.
Well,
really
I
is.
think a missed component too of Rotary is self-improvement and development. We have really great speakers and just like, it's just really
you learn.
You just learn. It's
There's always gold nugget takeaways.
So no matter what your day is that you visit your Rotary Club, it's a good day.
It's a good day. Exactly.
Yeah. And you've always been with Edina Morningside?
I have been. Yeah. That was it's the club I joined and I've actually visited a lot of clubs. And I find that if you, as a Rotarian, if you have the ability to visit other clubs, it kind of helps you to get to know your own club better. But you find things that other clubs do that your club doesn't do, and you go, "That's kind of cool."
Yeah.
So you can bring ideas back.
Sure.
But yeah, I enjoy the different aspects of it.
Okay.
But part of what I've learned in our club is the value of how clubs partner.
Yeah.
And there are projects locally and internationally that clubs do together.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice then to get to know those other clubs so that as you work on those projects together and hatch other ideas for future projects together, you've got even more energy behind the idea and the outcome.
That's great.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm, you know, being new to it, I've seen it happen, but you know, been to other clubs, but not as much as that. And I like that idea to try and get out there because I think you'll learn just like we do every day.
It is. And some of the projects that we do rely on other clubs partnering with us. So then you take that message to that club. Maybe you are that club's program for the day, or maybe you are an announcement at that club, as we've had people visit our club for their own announcements. But it's a great way to kind of fuel your own Rotary participation.
Speaking of service projects, what's been your favorite service projects in your long tenure of Rotary?
So there is one that has kind of evolved and isn't active right now, but that is junior police. And so where basically this is a program, the police officers go into the classroom of second and third grade and talk about safety, being safe in your community, understanding what that is, understanding, you know, look around your neighborhood. If there is that house where the newspapers are piling up, maybe something's going on there, or maybe they're not there, or whatever it might be. And so just you get a better understanding of your neighborhood and your community. And the kids get to visit with police officers. Police officers are in their flashy uniforms and they love that. And so basically our role was to put together the program around the police officers' visit. They get a workbook. And then we the second visit, we get to pin them with their police badge
Oh, cute.
and fingerprint them with their thumbprint on,
Oh my
on a
gosh.
little
How
card.
adorable.
Yeah, that's signed by the police chief.
I have 2 follow-up questions. One, why did they target second and third grade?
I think just because it's an age where
They don't know everything yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like kindergarten is, to me, kindergarten and first grade might be just a little too young. But
this is
I
where
was
kids
wondering-
are on their bikes.
Okay.
And so the safety of being out,
Sure.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're just starting to ride their bike out in the neighborhood.
Yep.
They're just starting to get out.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My next question is when did this not when did
Just
it?
the last couple of
and-
years.
okay.
It's kind of
COVID.
been since COVID.
COVID.
Okay.
It's kind of been since
wah, wah.
I know.
COVID, the,
Yep.
Okay.
the world's wet
Yeah.
blanket.
Yeah. And so during that time, a couple of the officers thought, well, we've been doing this way for 30 some years,
Yeah.
and maybe there's a better way to do this. So
Okay.
that's kind of from a community perspective, they're
Okay.
kind of remaking it.
Okay,
I-
so they're going back to the drawing board
They are.
essentially, and it'll
Mhm.
it'll go back into effect.
It was so funny. I actually thought I teed you up nicely for Camp Enterprise. And you were going to go right into that, but you didn't. You swung at another
I
thing.
like it. No?
But
Yeah.
but I like that project, and
Yeah.
it's one that now there's a club in California that asked for our stuff
Oh, very
Beautiful.
cool.
because they're going to start it.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So it's actually one of our former members who lives now in California.
There you go.
Nice.
And so we sent our stuff out there, and so they're going to start a junior police.
Love it. All right, we are going to dive into Camp Enterprise, which is the purpose of having Mary on.
Yes.
You are listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
As a reminder, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms and
And you can find us by looking up Searching for Service.
And we'd love for you to share the program, 5-star, and follow us. And you can also find us on YouTube.
beautiful job, guys.
I like our YouTube videos. I find
Beautiful.
myself watching them all the time.
Are you
I get-
only looking at yourself?
No, I'm looking at you,
Kidding.
my beautiful wife.
Okay. If you are tuning in for the first time, we have Mary Prindle on. She's a fellow Rotarian with Edina Morningside. But she came on to speak about Camp Enterprise. And so, Mary, let's start off with talking about what is Camp Enterprise.
Camp Enterprise is a program of, and it's a joint project of Edina Rotary Club and Edina Morningside Rotary Club. But I want to be really careful here because it didn't start with us. It
Hmm.
actually started with the Rotary Club of Alexandria, Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And they started Camp Enterprise of this idea of bringing high school kids together and entrepreneurs together
Mhm.
to kind of understand and share their experiences with students who are at that budding stage of trying to figure out what the rest of their life is going to look
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and so they started it. And so about the time that they decided not to go forward with it, then Edina Rotarian Dan Hallberg heard of it and brought that project to Edina Rotary.
Very cool.
And that may have been before our club was formed.
Oh,
Our
really?
club was formed by Edina Rotary.
Yeah.
And we came into being in 1989. And right at that point, we began partnering in Camp Enterprise. So Camp Enterprise is a program that takes place in the fall of the year, and it's annual.
We just had it, right?
And we just had it November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yep.
And we had 88 students.
Wow, congratulations.
And so that is, when you look at what Camp Enterprise is, what we do is we have a case study that is kind of the core project that helps the students experience Camp Enterprise firsthand.
Okay.
It used to be that at Camp Enterprise, you heard a bunch of speakers and you wrote an essay about what you heard from the speakers, and you learned and you processed what you learned in that way. And about the time that I became a Rotarian, I said, we got to keep the kids more
Liven it up a
engaged.
little bit.
Yeah,
More
to keep the
engagement.
kids
Yeah.
more engaged.
Yeah.
And I was actually doing a project with a case study as its core.
Okay.
And I said, let's try this. And it's really been a success.
I want to take a step back and just share with our listeners, what is your role? Like, how did it start off and how has your role evolved with Camp Enterprise?
So my role, I've played about every role
Yeah, I
Imagine
know.
that.
Believe that.
I know.
in Camp Enterprise. So my first year as a Rotarian, I became involved with Camp Enterprise.
Okay.
And so you have about 100 volunteers
Wow.
who put this on, because with 88 students, we had 11 teams of 8 students on a team. Each team has a mentor. That mentor is an adult mentor. Often it's a Rotarian, but not all the time.
Mhm.
But it's a person with experience as an entrepreneur, as someone who understands process and keeping
Systems.
people
Yeah.
collaborative, and exactly. And then also we have college age counselors.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So we hire counselors basically to be with the kids.
Oh, okay.
So they're in the cabin with the kids overnight.
Yeah.
They're at the table with the kids eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
That's a good
And-
delegation of dollars. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say.
It is.
It is.
Well, and also for our guests, I want to make sure that this actually does take place at a camp.
It
and
does. It
Where
did.
was it at?
True Friends
Idahopi?
Camp Courage.
Camp Courage.
Camp Courage in Maple Lake.
Yep.
It's a lovely facility. It's been there a long time, and not that long ago, Cambria. And I suppose this is a
Oh,
little
yeah,
plug
that's
for
right.
Cambria, but they came in and they remodeled the kitchen and all the bathrooms. It's lovely. And the cabins are beautiful. So it's really a great facility for the
Okay.
kids. There are some nice
They're
big,
not roughing it.
That's what I was going to say.
they're not really roughing it. They're bringing sleeping bags,
Glamping.
and
Yeah.
there's beds with mattresses. So they're putting their sleeping
Okay.
bags on the mattress. But
Very cool.
it is really, the food is good. The staff is second to none.
Well, and it's
They're
such a nice
wonderful.
opportunity too. If you're a listener out there, if you want to get involved in
Mhm.
something, like it's such a nice opportunity. There's a huge need for volunteers, and then if you've got entrepreneurial expertise, obviously that's a huge winner for
Right.
for the group.
So the way camp works is up until starting now, we're planning the 2024 camp, and the chair is Michael Birdman from our club.
Hey, all
Mhm.
right. Our,
Yes.
Nice job,
our
Michael.
club.
Yes. And so the chair position swaps back and forth each year.
Okay.
So Michael Birdman is chair this year. There will be a co-chair from Edina Rotary, who will then be the 2025
yeah.
chair. So it kind of goes back and forth. So basically, camp is a series of speakers. So we have speakers that come from a variety of backgrounds with a variety of experiences. They are all entrepreneurs. They are women, they are men. They are they cover
All creeds
all
and
the range
Yep.
of diversity. And so we have 6 speaker spots. And each one kind of feeds into what the kids are doing on their case study.
Sure.
And it's really interesting to find out how well that all just kind of blends together.
Mm.
Can you kind of connect the audience to the case study component? Like, can you share what this year's case study was?
This year's case study was different than ever.
Okay.
Usually we've had products or services,
Okay.
and maybe even a nonprofit. This year they had something that was not fully formed at all, and they all got the same case study, and it was
Okay.
up to them what they formed with it.
Okay.
And I actually haven't seen what they did this year, but it
Okay.
was a success, and it was great. We've had in the past, we have had breakfast cereal,
Sure.
we've had shampoo, we've had a hockey rink, we've had, and any of many things.
Yeah.
And this year they took kind of a different approach to it. Rather than having case studies that were specifically identified, they had a process,
Yeah.
and they let the kids take it as a team and see what they did with it.
Almost
Interesting.
startup.
Like a startup.
Yeah.
What does the 2-in-1, what's the selection process look like for the business, like the business individuals that are coming in? And then what's the process of selecting what the oh my gosh, I want to say scenario, but
Case study.
case study looks like for each year?
It's totally the committee.
Okay.
And there is this year, Raj Kumar of Edina Rotary kind of headed up the case studies.
Okay.
So the creative engine behind how they presented the case studies and how they were put together for this year really is attributable to Raj.
Okay.
Well, and I mean, the goal of the entire thing is to challenge these kids to think creatively, understand how to follow a process, understand how to create a business plan, like, really
Yeah.
like fully real life skills that regardless if they go into, business, whatever they end up studying, is that it's going to be a useful tool going forward. And
Mhm.
I think Camp Enterprise, I still remember when Camp Enterprise got canceled because of COVID, and I've never seen you so devastated. Never. Like, you were completely devastated because you understood the impact that this can have on the kids that serve that go out and serve in it. So
well, it was a missed opportunity
really
for a lot
Yeah.
of kids.
Yeah.
And these 88 students know firsthand how much weight how much that weighs, really.
Mhm.
But really, the selection process, as far as the mentors are concerned,
Yeah.
mostly who can stay at camp for 3 days.
Yeah.
Sure.
But because it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
But really, you want someone who's engaging,
Sure.
who can help the kids learn about each other so that they come together.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a huge piece of it.
Okay.
Where are the students all from one school, or are they
They are from both 5950 and 5960.
so
And is
kind of
it
the whole area?
The whole
Freshman through
from
senior?
State.
Juniors and seniors.
Juniors and seniors? Okay.
Juniors and seniors, basically St. Cloud and South,
Okay.
both
Yeah.
sides of the river.
Makes
So so you've got students coming from both districts.
Well, I think
Okay.
for the next segment we should just dive into some stories and some successes that you've encountered. I think that's what we'll tee up for our audience here.
Sure.
Sounds good. All right. As a reminder, you're listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
As a reminder, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms, and
You can find us by looking up Searching for Service. Go ahead and throw a like on there, a comment, and we do most love the 5-star reviews.
subscribe.
We have YouTube. Thanks for
Yeah, definitely check out the YouTube page. It's really fun to be able to see the guests and
As Joe mentioned,
the amazing hosts.
as Joe mentioned, you can look at our beautiful faces.
Yeah.
So we're in our third segment here with Mary Prindle, who's a fellow Rotarian with Edina Morningside, but she also plays a pretty pivotal role with Camp Enterprise as well. So the last 2 segments, we talked about who is Mary, who's Mary Prindle, all about her. And then in the last segment was really about Camp Enterprise. I think this third segment, let's
Share
talk
some
about
stories.
let's talk about some stories,
Some of the impact.
successes, and I think challenges too. I'm sure you've come across your fair share of those challenges as well. So,
how often do you've been involved with it for so long, do you end up meeting Rotarians that went through the program? Does that happen ever?
Oh, it does. It does. And I end up, but we all end up running into people. I went to Camp Enterprise,
Yeah.
back in the day, and I dial back to see, was I there that year? But it is unforgettable. Yeah, it's an unforgettable experience. So some of the kids want to come back for a second time because I learned so much, and I know what else I want to learn now.
Yeah.
And so they're very motivated to come back a second time. And we actually this year had several kids who came back a second year. So cool. I'm glad the case study was different this year, so that they had a chance to do something different.
Yeah.
But one of the big things about Camp Enterprise that the kids learn skills, but mostly they learn about themselves.
Totally.
So they didn't know that they were the person who could lead a team. Yeah. Never saw that in themselves. Sure. Now, the first way that we really prepare teams to get to know everybody, nobody on the team knows anybody else. Yeah. And it's by design. We actually had a group of girls last year who were disappointed. They were all from one school, and they were very disappointed they were not on the same team.
I bet.
Oh.
And that's by design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was pretty tough for them. But anyway, there's a team building element to Camp Enterprise. So think Outward Bound.
Yeah.
Not as challenging as Outward Bound, but still going through exercises that the completion of that exercise cannot be done by one person.
Yeah.
Right.
It takes a group.
It takes a group. And so consequently, you've got 11 teams of 8 people. So think about 8 people, and you've got this task that this group of 8 has to do. And there's someone who just kind of emerges as the person who says, here, let me help you do that. Okay. And so by the time they're finished, they've got like 3 of these exercises. Yeah. By the time they've finished the 3rd exercise, their counselor is with them and their mentor is with them, their adult mentor. Okay. So they're kind of observing, but letting the kids kind of sort through this. Because when the case study starts, there are roles. There's the CEO, there's the CFO, there's the CTO, technology, there's the human resources, the person. So these various, think of a corporation.
Yeah. What
are the roles that you need in place in order to reach your goal? And keep that machine moving forward. And so those are the roles in the case study. So as this team building exercise moves on, there's one, I don't know if they did it this year, but there's one where there's like 8 things and they're on the ground. And your goal is to remember where those 8 items were. So you can recreate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you go back and you look. Okay, all right. Okay, that was there. Okay. And there are definitely 2 or 3 people who are helping each other. No, I think it was over there. But that's just one exercise. Another is there's this elastic netting, like between 2 trees. And it's got these squares. And you have to get everybody from one side of the netting to the other without touching. The person going through can't be touching the netting.
Wow.
Okay.
So you're going to have,
You have people pulling the net,
you got people
teamwork.
pulling it open and another person pushing down on the bottom and opening a hole so that person can go through. You've got athletic people
Yep.
who can do that easily.
Mhm.
And you've got non-athletic people who are still developing,
Yeah.
who are going to go through that, but they're probably not going to be quite as graceful.
agile.
Yeah, agile,
Yeah.
great word, as that athlete. But everybody gets through it. And there is somebody who emerges as kind of that piece that made everybody successful.
Well, and I was just gonna say, like, all this story is reminding me just how selective the entrepreneurial mindset is. Not everybody possesses it, and you will learn a lot about yourself in searching for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for some, they learn what their limitations are. They learn what they're capable of, who they need to partner with. Because again, limitations aren't a bad thing. Then you just need to know who to
And to push your limits.
Right.
yeah, and who to connect to and how to build teamwork. And I think that, running my own business, I'm like, man, I wish I would have known this stuff when I was in high school. Like even just the ability to connect to people and to build teams and to collaborate, think through critical thinking.
If any people that you can think of that are got there by themselves.
Oh,
Right.
That's not possible. I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
They just surrounded themselves with the right people
Exactly.
very early, like very quickly.
Exactly. And you can see this starting to happen.
Yeah.
And some of these kids are in the upper echelon of their academics and some of them aren't.
Right.
What is the student selection process? I
was gonna. And what's the
You know,
capacity too?
the
I guess
size.
is another question.
So as far as the selection, we go to Rotary clubs and say, we're holding Camp Enterprise. Send us students.
Okay.
They go to their high schools. And it's the guidance counselors at the high schools. It's the DECA club at the high school.
Okay.
It's, they go and they recruit students.
Okay.
And basically we take who they send.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not all the kids are the DECA or the person who, hey, I know what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
The fun in it is the person who, I don't know, they said come, so I'm here.
Yeah.
I bet the guidance counselor sees potential.
Exactly.
But they're maybe, it's socioeconomic and they just are.
Or just like what we have in our child is that they just don't give a bleep.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because none of the kids or their families pay for this.
Yeah.
It's all Rotary.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when we go to Apple Valley Rotary Club, when we go to Arden Hills Rotary Club, whatever Rotary Club, they go to the area high school and they sponsor the students who come through their high school.
Yeah.
Now, if there are students who want to come, let's say Arden Hills says we'll send 3 and we've got 3 and there's 2 more from Arden Hills who want to come. There are Rotarians who step forward and say, I'll pay for that.
Yeah.
I'll pay for that.
Okay.
It occurred this year.
Imagine that. That always happens.
Yeah.
Mary,
it occurred this year.
Is there a cap on how many high schoolers can come to Camp?
120.
120.
We're
okay.
full at 120.
Okay.
Then, number of teams and how all of that dynamic works gets kind of big.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 120 is full.
So do you feel like 88 was a pretty
88
nice
was ideal.
number?
It was really good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
88 was good.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned something really quick here. there's kids that want to come back for a second year. Has there been any thought of having kind of like a year 1, year 2 Camp Enterprise where you
We're
begin
beginning to. We're beginning to. We've had a couple of other ideas related to Camp Enterprise. During COVID, we actually tried to do a remote
Yeah.
for the 8th and 9th graders to kind of get them thinking about Camp Enterprise.
Sure.
It didn't go anywhere. They were already living in the
Remote
remote
everywhere,
real
yeah.
world, and they
Yeah.
weren't interested.
I think this would be a perfect segue into our last segment to talk about like what
What's
the
the future?
future, what
Sure.
the future could look like for Camp Enterprise.
Yeah.
So, you are listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
As a reminder, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms.
Which ones are those? Oh, you mean all of them?
Yes.
Spotify, YouTube, iHeart.
It's all of them,
Tune
folks. And you can find us by looking up Searching for Service. And we do like those 5-star
Love reviews. Love to share if you're
Yeah.
interested, and spread the word.
YouTube channel.
YouTube,
We have that.
like, subscribe, ring the little bell
Boy,
thing.
we have really great mediums for getting the Searching for Service message out, don't we?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Awesome.
Meet you wherever you're comfortable with it,
Awesome.
or regular radio.
Well, to our listeners, thank you for tuning in for our last segment here with Mary Prindle. She's our favorite Rotarian with Edina Morningside. Truly. Sorry, I'll speak for myself. My favorite Rotarian. And she also plays a pretty pivotal role with Camp Enterprise. And so if you've got a moment to just take a listen to the last couple of segments, you'll learn more about what that
Is there a
means.
website for it?
Campenterprise.org.
I'll put that in the
Wow.
description of the show. So if you want to check it out, it'll be there.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and the information on the website right now is about the camp that just occurred November 2nd through 4th.
Okay.
So you can look at who were our speakers, and so we basically, the way we throw information out to the kids, for lack of a better visualization. So they get together on Thursday. They get their case study. They meet their mentor and their counselor. And then they go through their team building. After their team building, they know which role in their group they're going to play.
Yeah.
And these are corporate roles. And so we set up business specialists. So we have people who come who are CEOs. We have people who come who are CFOs, who are CTOs, who are in human resources, who are in law, and all of these different specialties that you need to run a company.
Sure.
And then the kids Thursday evening spend an hour and they go to their breakout to learn more about their role.
Yeah.
When they woke up that morning, they did not know
Yeah, which
What
role?
they were gonna be.
that they were going to be at 7:00 Thursday evening learning how to read a spreadsheet
Yeah.
and
my gosh.
understand what all that information at the bottom means and what it causes, what action it
Right.
causes. And so that hour is a pivotal hour
Sure.
for them.
Although I would wager to guess that your CEOs probably knew they were going to be CEOs.
They might.
Yeah.
They might.
Well,
You never know, but
Yeah.
they have maybe hadn't been given a chance to try it on for size.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mary, we love to talk about the future in this last segment.
Mhm.
What are your hopes and dreams and aspirations for Camp Enterprise in the future?
so getting students is always that thing that, how do you start every
Mhm.
year getting students? And we have a marketing team that is amazing, and they start their work actually before school starts.
yeah.
Okay.
and getting a hold of the Rotary clubs. All right. This is going to be the fee this year. So this year, for example, in 2023, a Rotary club paid $375 to send a student to camp. Thursday to Saturday. It's 7 meals. It's 3 nights. Those are the things you actually pay for.
Yeah.
Okay.
They get a sweatshirt. You pay for that.
Okay.
And then camp, you pay for that. And then it's wrapping all of the volunteer time into that. So, the looking, it's really, it starts with marketing and it really ends with marketing, with the big hurrah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That I think will always be there.
Okay.
It will always be there. And the Rotary clubs throughout 5950 and 5960 look at us, both Edina Rotary and Edina Morningside Rotary, to put on a program that they can be proud of. They can promote. They know it's going to be great. They know students are going to come back to them and say, wow, I had no idea what I was going to be in for and what I would come away learning. So those things you don't want to break.
Yeah.
Right.
As you then begin to form Camp Enterprise of the future. And I think that what's going to be really important for that is, I know who's around the table right now, and it's Rotarians from our clubs. We need to get Camp Enterprise students around that table.
Yeah.
We need to get Rotaractors who have been at Camp Enterprise, who are in the early stages of forming their business around the table, to know, all right, how do we turn the corner with this?
Yeah.
Because technology-wise, there's technology in Camp Enterprise.
Yeah.
But the kids are way farther ahead than most of the Rotarians who are there in how to put that presentation together, how to put it up on the wall, and how to then get it out to their friends to say, look where I am.
Yeah.
It's fascinating too. I could see business leaders as well being at that table, and that might help drive some of that technology component too. But definitely getting younger and engaging the younger core is going to definitely help that.
Yep, it will. And you see in the younger generations now in how they're reacting to our world, how concerned they are about our world. Those are the people sitting in our chairs, and we have to relate to that.
I literally put down as a question of the evolution with technology, social media, etc. What are the challenges that you see the kids facing right now, and how they are looking to overcome it through a platform like social or Camp Enterprise?
Yeah, and it's actually a great platform that we should gain an understanding of. What are the fears of these kids? What are they dealing with?
I just laughed because you said originally Camp Enterprise was like an essay, and I'm going, these kids would just go into Chat GPT and go, write me an essay based on blah, 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 blah. And they'll be like, done.
Interesting. There is an essay element.
Cool.
So there are 5 scholarships. We give out $5,000 every year, 5 $1,000 scholarships.
Wow.
And the hook is they have to write an essay.
Okay.
Now, selfishly, this is how we learn about Camp Enterprise, is their essays.
Okay.
Tell us what you learned. Tell us, how is it that you came here? What was the speaker that meant the most? What was the experience that meant the most to you? What are you walking away with that means the most? That tells us about camp.
I would think about evolving it into a video presentation, because that can be used. Well, technology wise can be used as a recruitment tool, but also writing is very important, and never will not be, but also a lot more video is integrated into
Well,
business now.
it's the thing now.
It's-
yeah.
Because
It's
of
where
social
they are.
media.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's where
so
the
it's kind of
students are.
It's exactly why
kind
this
of a-
show
Yeah.
exists.
2 point, you know,
Yeah.
kind of both points, I think, would
Yeah.
be, or a combination, but it also gives you a tool to use in
Mhm.
recruitment.
Promoting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just something to think
The-
about as you.
Yeah. So Channel 4, I believe it was Channel 4 who came in and they totally volunteered to do this. But they interviewed students, and it may have been the 2019 camp. And it's a good video.
Yeah.
And it's out. I think it's on the Camp Enterprise website. It's definitely on YouTube under Camp Enterprise.
Yeah.
And this year, Rob Bredding of Edina Rotary was the chair, and one of his goals was to get some video footage.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it'll be an updated
Very cool.
Yeah.
video that will interview students, and it gets, they're right in it right then. They're feeling it, they're living it at that moment,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and giving their unbridled opinion and reaction
Yeah,
to
in
what
the
they're
raw.
experiencing.
What do you see your role? Do you plan on continuing to be active in this, or tell us more about that as we wrap up?
I've been chair, I've been case study, I've been the mentor person this year. For not the first time, I was facilities. And for facilities, all the work is done kind of before camp.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
Definitely.
secure camp, you get the number of cabins you need, make sure you got the meals, you make sure they know how many kids are coming and how many spaces you need for this and that and that and that, because we've got breakouts for a variety of purposes. And not the least of which, Saturday morning, the kids all make a presentation to win a fictitious $1 million of venture capital
Yeah.
money.
Mm.
And so, Dick Crockett of our club headed up the venture capital part of
Of
it.
course he did.
Yep, he did. And so you've got, in this case, you've got 11 teams who are then vying to get their $1 million of venture capital money. And so when you talk about how to bring it forward, there are many, many elements to what is camp.
Yeah.
And maybe they remain part of camp, or maybe it changes
Yeah,
and
it'll
morphs
evolve.
itself. But
And Mary, I wish we had more time.
I know.
Gosh.
I know.
This is
Goodness
great.
gracious.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
on
you for
this
joining
show.
us.
Love it.
We appreciate you, Mary.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk,
And I'm Chad Larson.
It's time to stop searching.
and start serving.
See you next time.